Thanks for checking out the BoshNRoll channel. If you want to see me play your deck, hang out with me in the amazing BoshNRoll community in Discord, access to my lists and sideboard guides before tournaments, book an individual coaching session, or just generally want to support what's going on here, check out the Patreon and YouTube membership options. For the finest Magic the Gathering apparel on the market, use code BoshNRoll for 10% off your order at coalesceapparel.shop. Moxfield.com is the easiest way to build a Magic deck online. If you want to play what I'm playing, use my affiliate link to support the channel while you shop for cards at tcgplayer.com and play any deck anytime on Magic Online with a cardhoarder.com loan account. Thanks for being here. Let's go play some Magic.
Welcome back to the BoshNRoll channel. Today, I am continuing my testing for Magic 30 in Vegas for the modern main events, which will have come and gone by now. You will know if I got to draft beta or not by the time that you're seeing this, but I'm still in the testing process at the time of recording. This deck is a heater coming off of this past weekend where Zach Allen, complete sicko, won the team event in the legacy seat at the NRG series 10K, and then on Sunday conceded the finals of a modern solo 5K. So just could not lose on the weekend. And this was the deck he brought to the modern tournament, and it's a complete maniac of a deck. Basically, the blue-white control decks are splashing triomes for leyline binding anyway, and Zach was like, well, WRENN 6 is pretty good. Let's play that too. And this is his concoction that he has nicknamed WRENN White and Blue. And as much as I hate to say it, and this is throwing up red flags for format health and what mana is capable of in the format, but this is a really smart decision because I've been working on blue-white off camera. That was on my short list of decks I'm considering for Vegas, and I think it's really good. But problems with the deck are if you start missing land drops, you start losing. And the mirror can get kind of sloggy. I think the mirror is good. I love blue-white mirrors, but having some giant way to crack that mirror is a big deal. And WRENN 6 kind of fixes both of those problems. You just don't miss land drops anymore when you have WRENN plus a fetch land. And that steady source of card advantage on your way towards an emblem, which is not beatable in any sort of control mirror. This card does a lot. The cost, of course, is you actually have to cast a red-green spell in your deck that also contains Archmage's Charm. What the hell? And Supreme Verdict. That's a white-white spell. So we've got red-green into blue-blue-blue, and then white-white somewhere along the curve here. And honestly, if you're allowed to do what you want to do, that doesn't even matter. Like if you just have a hand with 2 fetch lands and your opponent doesn't counter your WRENN, this all just works. However, Zach did report he wasn't sure about his mana base, and just looking at it, of course, it looks a little sus, though it makes sense. I've actually added a land since Zach's original version. I cut one of the Archmage's Charms. He was on the full 4 blue spells in his deck that contains basic plains and Boseiju and only 23 lands. Absolute maniac, but he got away with it. I've been running into mana problems with 25 lands in straight blue-white, so leaning really hard on WRENN 6 to make the deck work at 23 lands in a control deck. I am not comfortable with that. I cut the most greedy spell in the deck. Well, the second most greedy spell in the deck for an additional mana source. This also kind of looks like a zoo mana base. We have more fetch lands than we have fetchables, kind of by a lot. There are still, I believe, 10 mana producing lands in the deck. 9 if you don't count Boseiju. That's enough to play a long game of Magic on, and at some point your fetch lands become WRENN Emblem and become counterspells. But I think having more fetch lands is more important than having more fetchables because of the greed of the mana. Like I said, 2 fetch lands and all of this suddenly works. If you draw the basic island or basic plains or the Boseiju, they could throw off your curve. Like if you use Boseiju to cast WRENN on turn 2, then you don't get counterspell until you find another blue source. Or if you just have an island in your hand that doesn't cast Wrenn at all until at least turn 3. If you draw the plains, that's a turn you don't get Archmage's Charm until you have 4 mana. There's just a lot of moving pieces here, and the basics are both a strength and weakness in that regard. Like, the reason to be this deck is that Blood Moon is out in force right now. Is it Murktide is just main decking that thing because it's great against creativity. It's great against these greedy leyline binding decks. It's great against 4-color. I played creativity at the NRG series this past weekend, and I think all of my losses were to Blood Moon, just every single one. I am interested in playing a deck that doesn't lose to Blood Moon, but I'm also interested in a deck that is able to cast spells. Zach has demonstrated this can be done. I'm going to explore if it can be done reliably or if he ran hot for the weekend. And that's what I'm testing here today. This is exactly the kind of deck that is my jam. I love control. I love having some, I guess it's not a secret anymore, but some major piece of technology that flips mirror matches. WRENN 6 also beats up on Ragavans and Hammer and all those decks full of X1s, Yawgmoth just poking at creatures. I don't really need to explain why WRENN 6 is a good card, which I keep doing. But if this works, it's brilliant. Though we're definitely in that, like, Captain Jack Sparrow at the bottom of the ocean, like, brilliance and madness are basically the same trait. There's a thin line between them, and we're walking that line today. Every one of the spells in this deck is undeniable. The fetch land Triome mana base also proving itself to be a real thing. Can we go WRENN 6 into Archmage's Charm? That's what I'm trying to figure out today. And shout out to Patreon subscriber Heinz, who made this league happen. Heinz gave me a tournament preparation dealer's choice donation league where he said, play a league, I'll pay for it, play what you want, but I want to see you testing for a tournament. Like, basically put me into try hard mode without putting up a $500 challenge. Very smart. That's a great way to support the channel. I appreciate you, Heinz. With all that said, this is Zach Allen's WRENN White and Blue. Let's do it. We are on the play for round 1, game 1, and this hand is not keepable. Look at this perfectly honest blue-white control hand, though. You'd never know. I'm gonna mulligan. Yeah, all right. I'm gonna keep this one, and Zagoth Triome makes green. I can fetch Steam Vents that makes red. There is one of those in the deck, right? Yes, there is exactly one of those in the deck. I think I have to bottom Island to keep access to white. Yeah, okay. Keep and bottom the Island. And that doesn't even give up on turn 3 Archmage Charm if we draw it, because Wrenn plus fetch land. Zagoth Triome, go. Wooded Foothills. I got excited about Basic Forest, but that is not a card I can Basic Forest. All right, I can Wrenn 6. That's what I meant to say. I can Basic Forest your creature. All right, big Wrenn. It's working, and we drew the Archmage Charm. What the hell? Zach, what have you done here? What modern deck plays Elvish Reclaimer, though? This is weird. Oh, you have your own. That's cheating. I can steal this elf, or I can exile Wrenn, or I can just hit my land drop and hang out with Archmage Charm. I think I want to do that. Does that make any sense? Unclear. This is tough. I'm gonna definitely fetch so I can get Wrenn active, or get a Wrenn activation. What do I think is going on here? I guess is the question. I could just steal this Elvish Reclaimer before it can do anything. I'm going to pass the turn with Archmage Charm up. I can still steal the Reclaimer. I have a replacement Wrenn if they dedicate like attack plus minus plus lightning bolt or whatever to clear Wrenn. I just have a second ready. I just don't know what my opponent's doing right now. I don't want to get clowned by Knight of the Reliquary or some mess. Dryad of the Elysian Grove. I believe that would qualify as Knight of the Reliquary or some mess. I'll counter that one. It's turn 3. I curved WRENN 6 into Archmage Charm. This is ridiculous. Oh, good. now I can focus on the WRENN, and I have Supreme Verdict to clean up the rest. I think taking extra damage to get WRENN value is worth it on this white source here. Medic ending your WRENN in 6. Let's hope they just play a bunch of creatures and pass the turn. There's a stomping ground. Oh, I'm getting prismatic ending as well. Sure. Some sort of pseudo mirror here. No attack. They're planning on activating Reclaimer. We're going to see where this is going. Gotta be Valakut, right? Like, what else are you doing with all this? I'm going to fetch the other basic. At this point, I am interested in my life total. Red, green. Now the question is, do I cycle WRENN Triome and immediately rebuy it, tapping out, letting them know the coast is clear? I don't think I'm doing that. That gets me more cards down the road, but it doesn't even do that, though, because I can't cycle it twice this turn. All right, let's find out where this is going. I hope it's going into more creatures, though. I'll probably just have to Supreme Verdict. Or is it Saga? That's a good land that's legal in Modern. Okay, more creatures are coming in a way that I'm not excited about. Another Reclaimer, another Reclaimer. Give it to me. Not like that. Okay. This appears to not really be a creature deck. Some sort of Naya value Saga thing. They can't activate Reclaimer and activate Saga in the same turn cycle here. In the end step, I am cycling Solitude. I like that one. WRENN is going to pick up WRENN Triome, and I'll run out my planes and see what they do here. Okay, they went with the construct. There's a good chance they Pithing Needle. Okay, I'm going to Solitude the Reclaimer right now, because they can rotate Saga away with its search trigger on the stack and just replace it without losing any value, and I'm not interested in that happening. Working through these Sagas is going to be my big challenge this game. So if they get Pithing Needle, it shuts off their WRENN in 6 also. Ooh, no second construct. Someone's got some spells. Uh-oh. Have I been juked into a big Valakut turn? WRENN in 6, yep. Just rebuys the Saga. That's a thing that happens. Sun Titan. This is an outrage. Okay, I hope Valakut is not currently in your hand, because you do get a poke out of it. But I have Supreme Verdict. Okay, that's not Valakut. I mean, these are all dying anyway. I'm going to block and get my life points. Protect my WRENN. I need to find a big Teferi or something that can actually end the game quickly at this point. I have enough mana to Supreme Verdict plus cycle. If I 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, they're really close to just lethal. There's no pain-free lands left to fetch. I'm just gonna play my breeding pool. Shit. Yep. No, that's fine. I'm gonna cycle WRENN Triome main phase. Leyline Binding. I've been had. Very clever. And here's the Supreme Verdict, but I am miles behind now, and I am, in fact, mana flooded in this deck without enough lands in it. Mistress Bauble? God, there are so many cards in this deck. Here goes the Expedition map, finding Sokenzan. Okay, they're just coming for the throat here. Channel Sokenzan, and then WRENN in 6 can pick it up and just an endless stream of dinguses. Do I leave up Subtlety? I'm going to put Kihira in my hand. And I think I want to leave up Subtlety. Saga, making a token. Yeah, this token endgame is really difficult to beat. And if they just go in on Sokenzan again, I can block with Subtlety and then put damage on WRENN in 6, so at least it does an emblem, but I'm still dying to everything else. Here is Subtlety. Getting bobbled in response. Block one of these spirit tokens. I go to 8. Kihira gives the Subtlety Vigilance, and I can put 4 damage on WRENN. I need a spell right now. Like, we're kind of approaching some semblance of stability. That good? Probably not. It's Kahira. Have to put damage on WRENN as much as I'd love to ignore it. Because I'm not beating an emblem. Is there a number I can put this chalice on that is bad for them and good for me? Do I think they have ones in the deck? Is this a lightning bolt deck? And I know they have some zeros, but that doesn't mean I need to shut them off. I'll at least turn off lightning bolts and that sort of thing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There is a fetchable land left in the deck. Oh, no, there's not. Oh, yeah, the Spar's headquarters. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. They can also just keep ramming these tokens in. They are winning the race by going wide here. They started to tap mana, then changed their mind. Suspicious. Yeah, this is the last fetchable land in the deck. Come on, good spell. That's a really good spell. At this point, I'm going to ignore WRENN and attack my opponent's life points directly. Okay, let's go. The one of main deck dress down. Zach had 2 dress downs in his list. I turned one of them into Supreme Verdict. He had 2 verdicts board, 2 dress downs main. I just went the other way on it. Tokens on. Tokens. Tokens on. That wasn't clever. Don't laugh. Okay. There's a construct. I'm going to let them tutor. I'm going to hide this dress down until the very last moment. Yeah, Shadow Spear is exactly what I thought they would get. Okay, WRENN is targeting Tokens on. I can knock the haste off of the new tokens. And I can dress down now. In response to equipment. That way it dies and it's not a 1/1. Okay, that knocked a lot of power and toughness off the board for them. I drew another fetch land. Okay. Noted. Kabira Crossroads? Oh my god. Is gaining 2 life actually meaningfully impacts the race right now? Alright, deck, keep the good cards coming. How about a Teferi? Leyline Binding. Not upset about that. 4 damage at my opponent's life points directly. If I binding their binding, I get WRENN, who can draw a card. If I binding their WRENN, or I could save this and just hit a clutch creature when it matters most. I think I'm going to do it that way. More Saga tokens coming. Binding can change the number of artifacts in play. And this Kabira Crossroads, they would be dead on board. There was nothing left to search for in their deck. We've got 2 baubles, a map, and a Shadow Spear. Here to be the name of the game here. I'm going to wait till combat, let them shove all their creatures in before they know they have to contend with a removal spell. Blade Beseiju, so they can cycle Tokens on here. What is the clever line? Or they can play or they can channel Tokens on, so Kahira doesn't get to attack anyway. I think I should just be making the obvious blocks. But before anything else, I should make sure Leyline Binding works. And line up my blocks. Oh, there were more tokens there than I thought there were. Not that I could do anything differently. There just are more than I thought there were. Yep, WRENN and 6 can finish off Kahira. Maybe that was loose. It's going to 3. All right, deck. Big spell, big spell. Yeah, because I lost Kahira, I don't get to attack here. If I just go to 3... Alright, I've lost this one. Okay. They outrenned me, is what happened that game. We both had 2 Wrens, but they had 2 answers early enough that it mattered. Boseiju versus the Urza Saga deck. Is that where I want to be? I definitely want my other dress down in. Supreme Verdict seems good too. Hallowed Moonlight can steal things from an Urza Saga or a Sokenzan activation, but I don't even know if that's actually good. Subtlety hits WRENN, and there are a lot of creatures in this deck, actually. I don't think Chalice of the Void is doing much. Aether Gust can remove WRENN, but so can all of my white cards, and I have all my counterspells as well. Jace seems like one of the most suspicious cards here. And Jace is also the long-term advantage. Maybe I shave a Solitude. And could be one small Teferi. The other possibility is I just don't need all these Besejus in, and I can keep a Jace. I really like the subtlety. I have to win this game somehow, and that's a flying tempo creature. Right, I'm going to try it like this. This hand is just all in on Leyline Binding. It does have its mana, but that's all it has. I'm going to mulligan this one. All right, here we go. The 2 fetch land, perfect situation. I'm going to put big Teferi on the bottom. Yeah, fetching WRENN Triome into Zagoth Triome gives you turn 2 Leyline Binding for 1. I'm going to fetch the WRENN here. Another fetch land, that's good news. Now Teferi is online. Here we go. Yep, WRENN 6 right on time. They seem to have passed priority, which I don't understand, but I'm excited about. I'm going to get Zagoth and Leyline Bind this thing. Or did I pass priority back? Shit. What just happened? I guess I needed to go into combat. Oh yeah, because me fetching gives them priority back. Tilt. Yeah, they messed up, and then I messed up back somehow. Yeah, there just shouldn't have been a priority pass there at all. It weirded me out. I freaked out. Didn't know what to do. Okay, what is the land that I want access to here? It needs to be blue, which all fetchable options are. And it needs to be untapped. Is my life total or perfect mana more important? I think I want the second white source in the bag. Shit. Oh, no, it's fine. For a second, I thought I didn't have a red source, but then I realized I just cast Leyline Binding for 0. Or for 1, whatever this number is. God, I can't even talk. This mana base is literally melting my brain, trying to figure out how to do anything. Finding WRENN, big game here. Termagurf, Ermagard. All right. Selesnya Sanctuary as well. Oh my god. And the Kabira Crossroads indicated that there's some sort of additional lands tricks going on here. I'm going to plus Teferi, cast WRENN 6, buy back a land. Missing the land straight up is a bummer here, because you can dress down and then ping Tarmogoyf, and it's gone. I can bind the Tarmogoyf if I need to. I don't want to, though. If it's not actively killing one of my planeswalkers, I'm going to ignore it for a turn and just take 1. I might ignore it if it's attacking Teferi anyway, because I have the backup. It is attacking Teferi. If they channel Boseiju taking out my Leyline Binding, Goyf can be big. Oh my god. Like Nostradamus. I would like to use Boseiju's ability. Do I want an untapped land here? Does it matter? Untapped land gives me Leyline Binding plus Dress Down, which can save Teferi, which I don't actually care about. But while I still have Teferi, I am going to bind the WRENN 6 again. Yeah, just having a second Teferi makes letting the first one die kind of easy. We've seen Urza Saga. I now suspect Primeval Titan as well. I think I want this Steam Vents here. Are there any red cards I care about? No, it's literally just WRENN. And I have a red source already to do that. Boseiju is a green card that I might want access to multiple. I think I just get my Hallowed Fountain and play a blue-white control deck from here. I'm going to lead on Teferi. If this just happens and I get to bounce Tarmogoyf, then we're clear for the turn. Eladamri's Call in response. Okay. This deck is wild. I'm surprised Lutri isn't the companion, based on all the cards we've seen. Emrakul, the Promised End. All right. We've got a new promise, folks. I'm going to buy back one of the fetch lands, and I think I'd rather continue developing my mana here and hold up interaction than with Kahira in hand. I can do that next turn. This Emrakul currently costs 9. Swag Tusk, my god. That is not a card I can beat easily, even between Subtlety and Dress Down. We're about to untap into the Subtlety tempo game that I sideboarded building towards. I'm leaving Spar's Headquarters in the deck because it's a great one to draw and cycle with. I think that's a better use than having a Bant Triome in play right now. Okay, they are channeling Sokin's, which is actually fine because Solitude is going to blow this out. You get to eat one, block the other, gain 3 life. and now I'm attacking. Every time Solitude deals damage, I get 1 point of Valakut damage away from losing the game, which I'm not sure if that's super relevant, but it's not nothing. Okay, Tarmogoyf's in play. There's Breeding Pool in my deck. I can dress down in the end step, ping Tarmogoyf. Yeah, I think I want to do that. End step dress down. Because then Subtlety will be up again on their turn. Deal 1 to Tarmogoyf. And play Island. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. I can put Kahira in hand and still have Subtlety or Solitude as needed. Don't gain life because of my dress down, but that's fine. Dress down also makes future Tarmogoyfs the same size because there's a leyline binding. Never mind. Also way behind on clock and slightly worried about that if we need a game 3 here, which I hope we do because I'm losing. Or I'm down a game, but I think I'm winning this one. I'm at least ahead right now. Cycling Tranquil Thicket. Cool. And this deck. Life from the Loam. So jealous. The Seiju Soken's on and Thicket just went back into their hand. Subtlety does not interact with that spell. Seiju, yep. And do I can get the planes. Good, good, good. I didn't want to take the headquarters out of my deck. I think I'm just gonna jam Solitude and push at this point. They have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 mana with instant sorcery land creature in the graveyard. 7, 11. Okay, cool. Now the Solitude's even easier to play. I was going to do it anyway, but I'll actually take a creature if you give it to me. I don't believe I can win this turn. I can deal 9 and they're at 3. Dramatic Ending is pretty good. Take out the WRENN. And I'm actually out of fetchable lands, but that's okay. I have exactly enough to do what I want to do here, which is Kahira plus Subtlety. All right, we're all in. All right, we did it. Okay. Tempo Elementals got the job done. Now we know they're a Merkul deck. Does that change anything? They're also a Tarmogoyf deck. That probably means I want my Solitudes back in. It is hard to prepare for everything my opponent's doing right now. So if I am able to control the board like I did that game, Jace gets a lot better than Subtlety. Jace is also a fast way to win a game. If I can just stick him on a stable board and plus kill you. I have like 6.5 minutes to win game 3. Okay, let's do it. I did not find room for the second Jace. Not sure where I would put that. Spar's headquarters. Not worth keeping a hand for that. Mulligan. Okay, I have my 2 mana miracle. Hallowed Fountain does not cast WRENN in 6 though. Still gonna keep this hand and send. I think I'm sending Solitude. I just like the idea of Big Teferi slamming it early and going to town. I have Prismatic Ending that can answer an elf. I didn't have an elf. That's even better. Oh, there's WRENN. I will give myself the possibility of casting it by leading on my fetch land. They cycled Tranquil Thicket on my turn. They also don't have WRENN in 6. Okay, I have the same number of untapped green and red sources in the deck, and I think Rockrin Triome does more for my plan A. Zagoth creates a color that I don't already have, but I'm just basically choosing between green or red. I guess if that's the choice, then green is better because Boseju's in my deck, and there's not actually red cards. All right, Zagoth Triome it is. Come on, fetch land. Bummer. Oh, I'm holding up Counterspell. I'm going to let Eladamri's Call resolve. I'm going to fuck around and find out. This is where they get like Loxodon on Smiter and just kill me. Riot is a card I can counter. So I will. Come on, deck. Land. Yeah, always had it. I am going to go for it here with the Steam Vents. Stick WRENN while I can. At this next land drop. It was tempting to leave up Archmage Charm and then counter a spell or draw a card based on what they do. But I think the longer Wren's in play, the more value I'm going to get off it. And if they use their turn to answer Wrenn, then I'm just up a land. All right, Life from the Loam. Speaking of being up a land, God. Tranquil Thicket Loam Engine is online. But I have gotten to my turn, and my dream of just slamming big Teferi is close to realized here. I've untapped with Wrenn and 6. Got to get 2 cards off of that. Nothing really happened that I would have countered last turn. They just fetched their Zagoth Triome, which means that Prismatic or Leyline Binding is live. Prismatic Ending was already live. Thespian Stage. The Swag Daddy. I'm going to counter that spell. Counter that, and I'm going to fetch. I'll get Hallowed Fountain. I'm leaving the Triomes in my deck. I have my colors. I'd rather cycle with them. Right. Basic land, big Teferi. Draw a card. Return Flooded Strand. Untap some lands. Wish I had Counterspell here, but I wasn't going to wait a turn on big Teferi to protect it. Maybe I should have, though. I could just hold up Archmage Charm for a turn. That's a card I can answer. Recycling Tranquil Thicket. Looks kind of desperate over there, actually. I hope that's true. Okay, they have some kind of spell. Elvish Reclaimer. I can answer that pretty easily. Okay, plus big Teferi. And Prismatic Ending. Reclaimer. Or no. I could just take that. Am I worried about their Wrenn? I guess that's the question. I'm going to leave up Archmage Charm and just hang out here. Pick up my land. And I can put Kahira in hand, actually. I get the Teferi on tap at the end step, so I still have the charm up. Okay, 3 minutes to win this game, which might be my limiting factor here, but I feel like I'm doing well on the actual gameplay. They could just like Veil of Summer Scapeshift right now. God. Well, they get my next turn. I will counter Emrakul. Getting my next turn is pretty bad because Teferi can tuck itself and they can like fetch, shock, fail to find or whatever. Or Teferi can... Yeah, Teferi can tuck itself. And then they can fetch, fail to find, get rid of the Teferi forever. Wrenn can ping itself. Jeez. All right. Yeah, this is like a pretty annoying... Obviously getting Mindslavered is always annoying. Wrenn pinged me instead of itself. I think I prefer that. There's the shuffle. Oh, right. Wrenn can legend roll and then ping itself. Right, yeah, they don't need to. The first ping definitely should be pointed at me. And Emrakul. What a card. Yeah, that Wrenn pings itself. And then I get a turn. Prismatic Ending. I cycle my Triome. And pick that back up. And Prismatic Ending your Wrenn. And then play an island and pass the turn. Yeah, even if this isn't game ending, it took away my board position to a point where I'm not going to be able to figure this out in 2.5 minutes. My opponent has done a lot of damage to themselves with their lands. Maybe Kahira just has to ride here. Go into elk beatdown mode. Or cat. Are you a cat? Wow. Why do you have horns? Opponent's doing some loaming and land dropping. All right. Teferi. Not upset to see you. Get in there. Remove this Reclaimer from play. This is a lot of lands. Kahira, I guess I need you to be in play. Turn my Scalding Tarn and play it. Is Besageing me in the end step. I should have floated mana. Damn it. I could have cycled my... Or no, I can't. Okay. Couldn't have cycled. There's only one untapped land left in the deck. On the aggro color screw strat versus my Wrenn and 6, though. That's interesting. They could have taken me off red entirely. Wrenn and 6, okay. Pinged my Teferi. Yep. I really want to be F6ing here, but I need to leave. Maybe I should be F6ing. Yeah, I was going to say I want to fetch Spar's headquarters, but I also kind of don't. I want to leave it in the deck for Boseiju. Yeah, I did not fetch my headquarters. We'll see if that pays off. I'm going to attack my opponent. Oh, they can cycle in response. I'm just going to attack my opponent directly. If they cycle and block, I can dress down and they lose their creature. Float blue. Yes, get Sparse headquarters. And dress down. My creature is still a 3/2. And then WRENN 6. Pick up Zagoth Triome. Play Zagoth Triome. And guess I'm passing. Oh, I don't have any green mana left. Shit. Alright. This Boseiju is not doing what I was hoping it would. They're in on Kabira Crossroads at this point. I'm in trouble. Cycling my Triome in the end step. I've got to get over this finish line with damage somehow. My opponent at 10 and 44 seconds on the clock. It's going to start with an attack. My Ganjo. Bummer. Fairy, let's go. I actually feel comfortable to favored in real life, but we are not playing in real life. All right, I obviously can't do this in 8 seconds, so I'm just going to concede. But, like, we got answers to fairies back in play. Archmage Charm chillin'. Yeah, my opponent just said in the chat, I swear there's a saga in my deck somewhere. I swear I have Boseiju WRENN 6. Like, this game is going super grindy, and their deck is really cool. I think in paper Magic, I would be ahead here. Yeah, that's really interesting. Their deck is kind of doing the same thing as mine, which is just building a pile of powerful cards around WRENN 6. And I've chosen counterspells. They've chosen Thragtusk and Valakut and Urza Saga. Yeah, really interesting. Just, WRENN 6 Magic. Okay, let's keep going.
You come here to level up at Magic. To level up as a software engineer, check out the new YouTube series Dev Better, hosted by the founder of 7 Factor Software and Magic player, Jeremy Duvall. 7 Factor's small teams of high-performing engineers build custom mobile apps, APIs, and highly scalable systems for Fortune 500 companies and ambitious startups with great ideas. If you'd like to hire 7 Factor, or maybe join their team, contact them through their website at 7factor.io. And don't forget to subscribe to 7 Factor's YouTube for every episode of Dev Better.
I'm on the draw in round 2 with a functional hand. I'm going to keep it. Just full of removal. I have the fetch lands. I can get my colors. I have the turn 2 Leyline Binding. And we're against Monastery Swiftspear. Okay. If I draw a route to Basic Plains, I'm doing it. Okay. I did not draw a route to Basic Plains. I did draw Solitude, which I'm somewhat excited about. I'm just going to chill. I could have taken 3 to answer the Swiftspear now. We'll see if that comes back to bite me. I guess this Swiftspear really only needs to deal 1 extra damage for this to be even. Okay. It did not deal 1 extra damage, though. Rewarded. I'm going to get the Rockrin Triome. And now I'm going to Prismatic Ending this creature. They didn't cast any spells, which makes me think... I don't know what that makes me think. Like, if their hand was just like Bolt, don't they want to do that in combat? When they didn't cast any spells, I was expecting Eidolon of the Great Revel, and then that didn't happen either. Were they just like playing around removal? Interesting. It seems they were just like respecting Spell Pierce or something. I don't know. That's just like a damage that they missed, as far as I can tell. I'm going to get my Zagoth Triome. Round out the colors here. This part is interesting. I could shove Teferi into play and just be shields down for whatever happens on their turn. But it's not like I have shields anyway. I'm just going to get Basic Island and put Teferi into play. The only thing I was protecting from by not casting Teferi is a haste creature, and I can still protect from a haste creature with Solitude. Yeah, but if they're on the mono spell hand, I'm just screwed anyway. Yeah, when Burn does this as a control deck, it's really tough because you're really good at beating creatures. Like, my hand is literally 5 answers to creatures, but they cast 1 creature, it attacked for 2, and then just 3 off spells. Now they have 3 cards in their hand with me at 6. And when you play against Burn, you have to imagine every card in their hand is worth 3 damage. Just hope there's some creatures here. Gotta hope their hand is lands and creatures for a while. Until the Solitude can connect. Which is quite some ways away. It's hard casting Riftbolt. I hate my life. Teferi is so close to doing what it needed to do there. If they had drawn Riftbolt last turn, they would have suspended it. So that was their draw for this turn. And because it came in this order, Teferi was unable to mess with it. Okay, plus Teferi. Play Spar's Headquarters. Does WRENN 6 even help me this game? Or is Kahira a better card to have access to? I think Kahira is better. Because if there is a next turn, I can cast Kahira and then Solitude exile my own Kahira to emergency gain 3 life. Alright, 2 lands in hand. Yeah, nope. Yeah, just mono spells. Even snuck the Riftbolt around my Teferi. Okay. Burn. I want Aether Gust and Blusterstorm. The Seiju answers Eidolon of the Great Revel in a way that I enjoy. Dress Down does very little for this matchup. Chalice, pretty important, getting that on 1. I have a lot of good answers to Eidolon of the Great Revel between Solitude, Leyline Binding, and Prismatic Ending. I think Subtlety is probably too slow. Jace looks slow as hell. Jace just looks really tough to me in this shell in general, but I guess Jace is a great way to convert your fetch lands that no longer have targets into real cards when you're cruising with WRENN 6. Looking at the spread, I actually think I'm supposed to cut a WRENN 6. Or Teferi isn't that good. Teferi's white for Solitude, which might matter. But I think WRENN 6 hitting my lands, making my deck functional, is going to be more important than some of the other options here. Okay, here we go. Got a mulligan this one. Okay, here's this hand. I'll keep it and put Breeding Pool on the bottom. I think this time, I guess I'll see what they do. Like, I could have turn 2 WRENN 6, or I could have turn 2 Leyline Binding. Turn 2 WRENN 6 hurts. Turn 2 Leyline Binding doesn't. Okay, Goblin Guide. Looks like I'm gonna Leyline Bind. Oh my god. It just gave me the land that I was gonna fetch for. I had a brief consideration of maybe I fetch first, but yeah, can I even do this anymore? No. Nope. Wait, if I get Spar's Headquarters, then shock in Steam Vents? Oh my god. I think if I'm gonna do that, I should cast Spar's Headquarters. Yeah, I can't get a Mountain and a Swamp into play next turn. I would have to shock in Steam Vents to cast my Leyline Binding. It did occur to me that Goblin Guide could hit my Triome, but in my head I was like, I'd rather have more lands in my deck than less, but I'm only decreasing my deck by exactly this land, which is the land that I want to draw, so maybe that all of that was just flawed. And I would have to take 2 to answer Goblin Guide, so I might as well take 2 and cast WRENN 6. And then I can answer Goblin Guide without taking 2 next turn. And we'll see if they care about WRENN 6 at all, or if they're just gonna light up my face. Burn is kind of a dreaded matchup, where it's much better to be straight blue-white than this many-color version. Here's the draw that we would have beat last game with our 5 creature removal spells in hand, but now we have 0. Or we have 1. They can kill WRENN if they care. Ignoring WRENN, terrifying. Teferi Time Raveler on top of my deck. Against a squad of haste creatures, that's not super exciting. Though it is another card and another object in play. Okay, I'm going to fetch a basic island and play Teferi. Oh, I should have fetched the basic planes here, because now if I draw a second white removal spell, I can't cast both. That was bad. I'm going to bounce Swift Spear. All right, good news, it didn't matter. Just more lands. You know, 23 lands and getting off the ground at all in the first place is kind of sus, but we flooded out I've played 5 games and flooded out hard in 2 or 3 of them. Does WRENN and 6 warp deck building so much that a non-WRENN version of this deck would want 26 or 27 lands, and this version is actually okay with 23, and one of them is Boseiju. Like functionally a 22 land deck. All right. Here's all these cards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Any spell kills me. Yep. All right. Yeah, we saw the mono spells build in game 1, and we saw the mono creatures configuration in game 2. And honestly, I wasn't really ready for any situation. Just the drawing that WRENN Triome just kind of clashed my whole game plan. This matchup feels bad though. All right, on to the next one.
This video is sponsored by Moxfield.com, the easiest way to build Magic decks online. Moxfield supports over 30 formats, including Legacy and every other format you'll see on this channel. They have multiple customizations so you can view your deck how you want. Text view, stacks, grid, custom grouping by type, subtype, color, light mode, dark mode. However you want to see your deck, they can provide it for you. My favorite feature is you can choose your set printing, make the deck look exactly how you want it to. The deck screen features expandable sections that show you what tokens your deck makes, your recent change history to the deck, stats about mana curve and opening hand distribution, mana cost distribution. You can deal out sample hands and even play test the deck. Island Ponder, you know I'm keeping this one. This site has everything. Follow me on Moxfield.com to keep up with decks I'm playing for the channel and what I'm up to in paper. I'll see you there.
On the play in round 3 with a hand that doesn't work, I'm going to mulligan the Boseiju killing me here. I would keep this with a blue source. The Teferis didn't even move. Motobug. I have to mulligan. Like, this just doesn't work. Okay. I'll put 2 of these lands away and then enjoy my 5-card hand. I do have the turn 2 binding into turn 3 Teferi. Pretty solid curve considering how this game started. Okay. Very happy to answer this Ragavan. At the WRENN Triome. Oh, that's a better answer to Ragavan. I mean, they could dash a second copy, but I would rather use the sorcery when the sorcery is good. Okay, just nothing go. You love to see it. We get the Zagoth Triome. There is a good chance this is a scam strat that has Blood Moon in the main deck. If true, what are my outs? I can play this Teferi and plus it. Prismatic Ending can get a 3rd color. I think it's better to have plains if my opponent hits me with Blood Moon next turn, but it's better to have Island if they do literally anything else. Right, I'm going to get Island and plus Teferi. Teferi can bounce Blood Moon if they play it here. And Teferi being in play means I can't get, like, Grief reanimated. Old Pyromancer, alright. Scam strat confirmed. Undying Malice and Malakir Rebirth both went to the graveyard. Teferi had those shut down. Ooh, what's up? I'm going to bounce one of the elementals. And then play WRENN in 6. And pick up a Flooded Strand, because basic Plains gets me out from under Blood Moon, and I can Leyline Binding off of it. I will use Binding to protect Teferi this turn. And Teferi plussed, right? Oh no, Teferi minused. Okay. I guess I can't protect Teferi, but if they want Ragavan to connect with me, we'll find out soon. In combat, I can make decisions. Oh, they just cast Ragavan. It wasn't even a dash. Got it. I guess that's a legal play. Took me by surprise. I'm gonna fetch basic Plains and bind this CZ Peasy and protect my Teferi. I wonder if that was a misclick, because like WRENN in 6 is face up right now. Like I can just minus and remove Ragavan from play. Lightning Bolt. Okay. That explains it. Okay. Good thing I have another answer to Rag. Ooh, I would rather cast Boseiju, or cast Solitude off of this Boseiju than save Boseiju for a Blood Moon or some mess. Because if they attack with both creatures, I can Solitude the Rag, block the Elemental. And they should suspect that because I both just played a land that that is frequently better as a spell, and I didn't wish for Kahira. They should see 5 mana up here and make good decisions about that information. Impossible. Here is my Solitude. Exile Ragavan. Block. Fury. If they have a land drop, Fury can kill either, or it can kill both of these things. Shit. Okay. It wasn't Fury. Oh. Okay. They're going to end up with my Solitude, though, probably. Yep. All right. So my Solitude is now in the Void. Speaking of the Void, am I more worried about this Liliana or this Voidwalker? I think it's the Voidwalker, at least imminently. Get rid of that, and then I can Chalice on 1. They're a deck with Lightning Bolt, Thoughtseize, all the various scam effects. And as soon as I find a land, I can put Kahira into play directly. Blood Moon, okay. I can remove that from play. Not a huge deal somehow. And they just discarded their last card. Oh, we're in a top deck game now. I can bounce Blood Moon, draw a card, try to pad my hand here. Yeah, if I bounce Blood Moon, I can counter it on the way back down. Put Kahira in hand, discard the land. Or I could discard the Kahira. I could also just play Kahira. But then they can minus Lily. If you minus Lily, it's gone. And if you plus Lily, it's gone. Yeah, I think just putting Kahira into play is the line. They could just minus on Kahira and then Blood Moon me, and then it's Teferi versus their deck. Yeah, I think I'd rather just put them to the test with the Kahira. Yeah, I don't have a better answer to this Liliana available. Let's deal with it somehow. I drew land, so this is the line. We can just, and they should minus because they are losing the Liliana anyway. And here we are, hanging out. Oh, Archmage Charm. There is a second island in the deck. We both have hate pieces in play. I do have access to basics. And this is the real test. Is it worth having all these basics in your WRENN 6 deck? We've seen why it's worth having WRENN 6 in your 4-color deck. Like, there shouldn't really be a conversation about that. But now we're playing the game on basics, which doesn't really matter. I'm just going to bounce this Blood Moon. I have so much mana. I don't think I need Teferi anymore. Just unlock this insano hand of action. Grief, huh? I'm going to counter spell Grief. And here comes the Moon, which I think I do want to counter this. And the alternative is draw 2 cards and hope some of them are Teferi or Leyline Binding. That's really interesting, but yeah. I'd rather just cast my spells if I draw them. I'm going to counter the spell. And I'm going to fetch for just Hallowed Fountain. Come on, Planeswalker. Jace the Mind Sculptor. It's the time for Jace. All right, I'll take this Planeswalker. Red, green. WRENN 6. Choose a fetch land, mostly at random. Let's hope they blank a turn and give me an opportunity to start drawing cards with Archmage Charm. Alrighty, I'm going to fetch first, so I don't draw these cards I don't want. I'm going to draw 2 cards. Counterspell, and another WRENN. Just played a land from my hand for no reason at all. Could have protected that information. Hulagon's Command, destroying Chalice and getting back Grief. That looks like it's worth a counterspell to me. Looking for a draw engine now. Drawing the Spar's Headquarters would be great. Drawing a Teferi would be even better, or Jace. Or we could just keep bricking. And I'm not going to play out these fetch lands anymore. I'll have an emblem someday, I hope. And there's not a land left in my deck I want to fetch. Roxa, okay. Well, shit. That one's really good. I am going to discard the Windswept Teeth. I'll take the damage. And I should probably discard WRENN to the reappearance. So I'm not 100% dead on board. Discarding the backup WRENN. And I need a spell now. Come on, deck. Any white card, please. Yeah, white cards. They are griefing me. I will respond with my powerful spell. And then Grief can see a handful of lands. And the handful of lands is actually a handful of Prismatic Endings and Archmage Charms because of WRENN, and that'll do. Okay, the basic lands did give me a clean out to Blood Moon, Veil of Summer, and Beseiju. Like Hallowed Moonlight. You're not really going to catch a scammer with this. I mean, Jace to Fairy, like that's what I was looking for the whole game. Chalice, there are a bunch of 1-drops in their deck. I wonder how good Subtlety and Supreme Verdict are. Like, Subtlety can stop a scam. I don't think I want all the Beseijus because it's really only for Blood Moon, and if Blood Moon's in play, then I can't Beseiju. I could float green if I'm ahead of it, or I could just plan on using my binding and ending to do that work. I do think the Chalice is good and important to a long-term game. Jace is like all I wanted for the whole game. Solitude's important. Binding is a little risky because of the Blood Moons. Like if they get a Blood Moon into play, Binding is probably unreliable. And it's Teferi, kind of mid. 3-mana Teferi. It shuts down like the scam stuff, but on the draw, they're going to scam me way before Teferi even shows up. Oh, Aether Gust is an answer to a resolved Blood Moon. I think I like that better than Beseiju, because a single basic island gets me out of that situation. I think I got crisscrossed somewhere in that sideboarding, because I meant to bring in the second dress down, but then ran out of time. I don't know what's going on right now. Gust hits a lot of stuff. Okay. This hand has no green mana or red mana, but I don't hate it. I'm going to keep. All right, we are getting scammed. Though, I can Solitude this thing, because their scam cards are death related. They don't have Ephemerate. Like, I could just put us both in the trash here. I think I want to do that. Let's live in the trash together. Yeah, killing the Grief in response to its trigger doesn't work against Ephemerate, but it does work against Malakir Rebirth and Undying Evil. Hell yeah, WRENN at 6. Just good deck building in my 2 Hallowed Fountains and basic Plains hand. Come on, fetch land. All I want in my life is a fetch land. Ever. Easy, easy. Always had it. And now they know Veil of Summer's up. They haven't seen the WRENN at 6. This is also basic island if they Blood Moon here, which takes me miles away from WRENN at 6 or Veil of Summer, but at least I am still playing the game. Yep. Okay. You have that going for you. Jace the Mind Sculptor. Okay. I'm going to put Kahira in my hand. All right, let's see what their follow-up is. I hope there's at least one Undying Evil in their hand. Just rotting there. Oh no. My Jace. Yeah, all the Aether Gust should be in my deck, I think. But Prismatic Ending works here. Oh yeah. I just gotta stabilize the situation somehow. Oh, they still have spells, don't worry. Another Grief. Okay. Probably gonna lose Kahira this time. Oh my god, the Jace. I needed you. I can't Supreme Verdict with the basics that are in my deck. Leyline Binding, which I can cast. It costs 4, or it costs 3. It doesn't currently do anything. Like, I can remove one of the Griefs, or I can remove the Blood Moon and try to untap and make something happen. I wish I had a green mana just chilling. I think removing Blood Moon gives me the most game. Rock. Okay. It's unkicked because it has to be. End of turn. Let's draw Supreme Verdict. Is that card still in my deck? I didn't bring in the second. I don't think I boarded out the first. Yep, there's one card in my deck. Supreme Verdict. Tilt. Okay. Okay, I mean, the two basics plus the Blood Moon making your mountains, Leyline Binding as a 3-mana removal spell, that gives you Leyline Binding and Prismatic Ending as 3-mana removal spells to Blood Moon. The basics are a big deal here. Yeah, I believe that I want the Gus. Though a lot of their threats are black. And maybe Chalice isn't good here. And if I bring in another Gus, that's another out to Blood Moon. And I could Dress Down, which does a lot for their deck. Or I could Subtlety. Or I could Supreme Verdict. I think Supreme Verdict makes sense. It's just surviving their mess is part one, but Supreme Verdict's really bad against the cards that are just in their deck naturally. The Undying Evils and Malakir Rebirths. Dress Down can stop a Turok and alternative scamming. Okay, I'm going to try this now with more Aether Gust. I will keep this hand so fast. The only thing it's missing is a Veil of Summer, but I'm going to play my Misty Rainforest and make my opponent think about green cards. They saw the Veils last game. If they give me one turn to develop here, I'll be pretty stoked about it. I just Bloodstain Mire go. We'll take it. And I think I want Spar as HQ. Because I need a green to get this WRENN into play, which is my priority. And then I want white on the following turn to Leyline Bind. I could just hold up Counterspell this turn and then Counterspell. No, I don't think I care about that. I think I'd rather just get value immediately. Okay, there's WRENN in 6. Let's see if we go the other way now. Last game we had 5 lands, none of which cast the 3 cards in our hand. And now we have turn 2 WRENN in 6. Live in all versions of this world together. A Kroxa. I will take the 3 because I have plenty of life and a card advantage engine online. I'm not losing any of these real spells. No thanks. And Fury. Alright, that was clever. I'm not missing a land drop, but that was definitely a clever play. I don't think this is where I fight on Night's Whisper. And I also, I could fetch, I think I do fetch Zagoth Triome here. Yeah, I just want perfect mana. Veil of Summer, hello. Alright, Veil lets me cast or protect from a discard spell and then also counter a Blood Moon next turn. My hand is super reactive and ice cold to Blood Moon if they can get through my walls here. Card casting a Grief. I'm going to Veil. Then in the end step, I'm going to bind that. Just don't want it in play. Don't want anything in play. I want to play unmagic, non-magic. And now I can Leyline Bind a Blood Moon. I don't even need to counter it. Another Grief. I'll counterspell this one. This Kroxa is ticking up, moving in the wrong directions here. Alright, you have Ragavan or Thoughtseize? It's Thoughtseize, alright. Gonna probably lose the binding. Yep. And I'm gonna cycle Triome. I think I need a spell more than a land here. That's a spell. Oh my god. Alright, Big Teferi, let's go. Draw a card, and I get to dress down the Kroxa, and I can fetch for another basic island if I need to. Big T and Big Jace are kind of the reason for all of this. Okay, Ragavan, I can just knock the haste off it and not take 2. I think that's the way to go. And I'm going to fetch a basic island before I do that, in case I draw one of my good white cards. Yeah, this also shuts down, like they may have been counting on the treasure to cast Kroxa, and if they Kroxa, I don't even care that much. Let's see if they fix the Moto bug. Good, they did. There was a while where Ragavan did not return to your hand if it got dressed down, and it's supposed to. Draw a card. WRENN at 6, yeah. I can go red, green, blue, white, and still Archmage Charm. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep. Red, green, WRENN. Get back my Flooded Strand because I can get basic planes. And I'll go ahead and delete that into the void. I have other fetch lands, but let's just get the basic now and then get the Void Walker. Oh, I guess I had Teferi. I didn't need to do all that. Didn't need to fetch at all. Now I can steal or counter Ragavan. I don't really want to steal a dash Ragavan though. It still bounces. I think. I'm pretty sure. They have enough mana to dash Rag and still cast Kroxa. I am going to counter Kroxa. I'm more worried about that than Ragavan. I get that one out of here. And then Rag's going to get a dashy little poke in here. And Ragavan squaring up versus Teferi and WRENN 6 here. The battle for the ages. They took a Leyline Binding, which they can't cast mercifully. Okay, Teferi, draw a card. Nice. WRENN 6. Pick up Misty Rainforest. Or no, there's a Rockrun Triumph in a graveyard. Even better. I forgot I cycled that. Good stuff. I put Kahira in my hand. Gonna play my Misty Rainforest and then cast Kahira. And then in the end step, I get to untap 2 lands, which means I can Triome or I can Boshaju and Triome if there's anything to Boshaju, because I have a legendary creature. Old Pyromancer. Do I want to dress this down? That puts Ragavan in the graveyard. Refills. Yeah, I do want to dress this down. And I'm going to fetch first. I know the only card in their hand is Ragavan, so I don't need to leave up any particular color of mana because it doesn't matter. Nice 2/2. Would you like to add a 2/1? Dashed in Ragavan, where it loses all abilities and goes back to your hand. Spent 2 mana to put a card in your hand instead of 1 mana to put a card in play. That might have just been for funsies because they're not using their mana anyway. Draw a card with Teferi, WRENN 6. Cycle Triome. And WRENN 6 pick up Triome. And with Aether Gust, here I don't even care about Blood Moon. There's very little I do care about, actually. Just untap my lands and send it. Dashing in Ragavan. This is going to be a blowout. I'm going to have a 4/3 Solitude. Exile the Pyromancer, block the Ragavan. And it's all backed up by Aether Gust, if necessary. And Teferi's going ultimate next turn. I think I just want to gust this. Just lock up the Teferi ultimate. No new cards. Yep. GG. All right, that one felt great. Basics, huge deal against Blood Moon. It's the ability to Aether Gust it off of a single island, or having Island Plains Mountain gives you Prismatic Ending. And then what I hadn't occurred to me because I haven't seen it in play before, Island Plains Mountain also gives you 3 mana Leyline Binding. There's a lot of outs to Blood Moon in this deck, and I do like that a lot. Just having a WRENN deck that's not dead to Blood Moon. Oh yeah, very interested in that.
We're a few rounds into the video. Thanks for sticking with me. Friendly reminder that if you're still here and having fun, smash that subscribe button. And if you want to play what I'm playing, you can use my affiliate link for TCG Player to support the channel while you shop for cards, and you can try any deck anytime with a cardhoarder.com loan account for Magic Online. All these links are in the video description below. Now back to the league.
I'm on the play in round 4 with the cheater hand. I get to curve WRENN 6 into Archmage Charm. That's a keep. And you should always save Flooded Strand for last, because that gets both your basics. Opponent's on a Multa 6 over there. A Savai Triumph. Okay. I'll match with my own. I did just kind of default to the turn 2 Leyline Binding Triumph. That might not have been the correct one. Now I have to fetch a green source, which is fine. I guess it's just the difference between having Steam Vents in play or Breeding Pool in play, which don't matter because they both cast WRENN 6 and no other cards. Breeding Pool activates Boshaju. Okay. I guess Breeding Pool is slightly better than Steam Vents then, and I think this is the second time I've talked myself through this situation. They're almost both just non-basic island, and then Boshaju has some outside game. WRENN got Prismatic Endinged. That's okay. Did its job, mostly. If I cast a fairy and plus here, I don't think this deck's going to Blood Moon. I think it's a safe bet. In that case, I'm just going to leave up Archmage Charm and pass and put them on defense. Obviously, the situation's better with Wrenn and 6 in play. But they had a removal spell. What are you going to do? Interactive Magic the Gathering. They shocked in Breeding Pool. They got big plans here. I am going to counterspell because I like holding on to Archmage Charm for bigger fish. Okay, they shocked in just to get green mana. I was a little worried about them shocking in to protect with Spell Pierce. But that's not what happened. I'm going to grab a Hallowed Fountain here. And begin my turn. I'm going to play Scalding Tarn and pass again. When I can play Teferi and Counterspell in the same turn, I'll move in on Teferi. Just going to be patient and hit my land drops right now. I have more cards in hand than my opponent, and I have land drops to hit. And this appears to be some sort of control suit mirror. Okay, this is the tough spot where Archmage Charm is obviously better going long, but next turn I get the 5 mana to double spell, and I'm going to commit to the double spell and give up my Archmage Charm here. They didn't have Spell Pierce last turn, so I'm not going to play around it this turn. And this land does not cast Wrenn at 6. They still shocked in. But why? Am I going to get like Lightning Helixed? I don't know. I'll just keep getting Hallowed Fountains until someone tells me a good reason not to. Flooded Strand and Teferi, leaving up Counterspell. Do I want to draw a card right away? I think I do. And I drew Basic Island. Okay, once again, kind of flooding out with the 24 land deck. We're going to drop a Fury into my Teferi. What's the game plan? Rival Flames, my goodness. Okay, I'm going to let that resolve. This is 5-color Zoo, not... Okay. Just some sort of Teferi mess here. 5-color Teferi mess, but they have Tribal Flames, which completely flips the dynamic here. That means I can suddenly die from 10, and they can't. Oh, okay. Let's do more of this. I'm going to Teferi. I'm going to minus, because knowing that Teferi can die from 5, worth getting a card out of right away. Solitude I like. That's a reason to put Kahira in my hand, which I was going to do anyway, but now I have extra good reason to do so. All right. They're down to 1 card in their hand plus the one they're about to draw. They can't do any sort of Cascade or Bring to Light stuff with Teferi in play. Lightning Bolt. 1 card left. What do we got? Oh my god. Yeah, that's a good one. I'm not going to Solitude it in response to the trigger. With 1 card in hand, they can either have a fetch land to make mana or anything to do with that mana, but they can't have both. Here is Solitude. Okay, Omnath, Tribal Flames, something or other. It would not surprise me if Bring to Light's in this deck. It could be anything at this point. I've seen versions of this with Bloodbraid Elf and the other idiot, Shardless Agent. That's a 5/5. Time to draw Dress Down. Uh-oh. Okay. My deck is full of white removal, which is what I need here. But I do need to find it. Dress Down kills this thing outright. It has basically the same text as Saga Tokens does, as far as power and toughness goes. Or it works in the same way. It counts basic land types. I'm going to get my planes and leave my cyclers in the deck. Come on, white card. Or blue card named Dress Down. The Seiju ain't it. This card does not trample. And I just inexplicably tapped my green source to cast Kahira instead of my many white sources with a green card in my hand. I'm going to start fetching the Triomes now, because with them chilling in the deck, like leaving them in the deck so I can cycle them if I draw them, is like a 3-mana way to just like fetching them also gets them out of the way. They can loot or exile a card from my graveyard here. I expect them to loot unless they drew a great card. No, they are exiling cards from my graveyard. Don't like that. And I am going to block. I'm going to aggressively protect my life total against this Tribal Flames deck. There is a Steam Vents left in my deck. Okay. The Windswept Heath last turn didn't get that. If there weren't a different land to get, okay, nice. I would have gotten a Triome. Get this thing out of here. Some breathing room, please. Okay, that's a lot of breathing room. And if I fetch again, I'm in double Flames range. I will put this Scalding Tarn in play and think really hard about if I'm going to fetch with it. They like the card in their hand. They had the opportunity last turn to rummage or loot or whatever Kavu does. It's a rummage. They had the chance to rummage last turn and just didn't. That makes me think Tribal Flames. Like, what card would they have in their hand, think is worth keeping, and then not use? And I think the answer is a powerful burn spell. Okay, I'm just gonna flash Supreme Verdict this turn. Hope they play a haste creature pre-combat. And I can also let the Kavu attack, and if it comes towards Teferi, I can ignore it. And maybe they play a second creature. They get the trigger, but we'll see if that matters. If it attacks me, I'll Wrath it. If it attacks Teferi, I'll let it ride. Okay. Yes, we're killing this thing. Exiling my Solitude. Yeah, get out of here. Another Kavu. You hate to see it. Okay, deck. Keep these white cards coming. Or dress downs. Subtlety. Not what I wanted. It does block. I can take them off maybe one land type, but not two. Not to the point where I can actually beat this thing in combat or trade with it. I can just jump it though. Oh, they're attacking Teferi this time. Oh, that's because Teferi's at 3 and can bounce next turn. I just let this happen. Still exiling cards from my graveyard. If I was right and they have a burn spell, they can kill Teferi anyway. I think I'll do like anything to draw another card right now. There's so many cards in my deck that just bust this open. Do I Beseiju the Savai Triome? Good chance they don't have a second swamp in the deck at all. I don't think so. I think maybe I saved that trick for if there's a Tribal Flames on the stack. It's also possible they just have a second Triome swamp and it doesn't matter. Like they have Indotha Triome in here. Or Omnath, okay. There's Omnath. And they had the fetch land to go with it. Let's see how hard I'm going to get unloaded on here. Is there a Fury in this hand? Or what are we doing? 6 mana available. Leyline Binding. Is this the new version? Exile target land until Leyline. Okay, this is actually better for me to let Teferi leave play, and then I Beseiju. Oh shit. I need to Beseiju on my turn, or else I just take 4 from Omnath. Yikes. That would have been easy to mess up. Don't mess that up. It's very important. Oh, they do have an Indotha Triome, but it just hit the graveyard. And they went briefly hellbent to do it. Right, I have to go to my turn, so I don't trigger Omnath. Draw another land. You love to see it. Beseiju, you're binding. You get 4 life off Omnath if you choose to accept it. If there are even fetchable lands left in the deck. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That seems like a large amount for a deck like this to have. There's a basic plains. All right. Okay. Teferi, take the wheel. Bounce the Kavu and Jace the Mind Sculptor. Oh, baby. Yeah, I think I Jace and bounce Omnath. They get to redraw, but yeah. Drawing a card off Omnath, I'm not excited about, but I would have to brainstorm into, or I could also plus Jace, target them. Then they have Omnath in play and they get to attack, but they don't get a second draw. Yeah, I'm actually going to plus Jace. Windswept Heath, I am not going to put that on the bottom. I know it triggers Omnath twice, but I think that's less relevant than... Oh, I should not have played that land. I don't know what... I was thinking I want to be able to fetch, but I could do that with the one that was in play already. And I wanted more lands to brainstorm with next turn. Whoops. Okay, Omnath gains 4 life. Omnath attacks. Let's see if they soften Jace up or kill the planeswalker they can kill, or just go face. All right, they are killing the planeswalker they can kill. They have Kavu and 1 mystery card in hand right now. And I'm actually not going to activate either of these fetch lands. There's only 2 fetchable lands left in my deck, and I'm about to start brainstorming. There's a Kavu, and last card in hand. Please don't be Leyline Binding. Oh no! Okay, I'm going to fetch now. Okie dokie. I believe I'm cracking both fetches, just maximizing the cards in my deck that are cards. Let's go. Solitude is not bad. I think I want to take out Territorial Kavu with this. I don't die to a fetch land, but it's close. Solitude, take out Kavu. And now, do I block Omnath? My Kahira's already gone. Oh, they didn't even attack with Omnath. Oh, interesting. They think that's important. I don't know what's going on. I don't know why they didn't attack. I'm gonna pass the turn because I drew another land. Okay, now they're attacking with Omnath. I think I block. I want the life point padding. Knowing they're a Tribal Flames deck and all of that stuff. Oh my god, deck! 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. Alright, good news. There's only 3 lands left in my deck. Or, no, 2 lands. There's only 2 lands left in my deck. My 26 card deck. Okay, here comes Omnath. A fetch land, if there's a fetchable left in the deck, can put me to 4 and dead on board. Alright, big Teferi, or little Teferi, but big draw. Teferi is going to bounce their Leyline, and then I'm going to brainstorm with Jace. I think this is a better use of all of this. Alright, cool. I found Prismatic Ending. Brainstorm with Jace. Good shit. Put back these lands and Prismatic Ending. Red, white, green, and blue. Yeah, I want to get rid of this jerk for good. And then Teferi, big Teferi, actual big Teferi can show up next turn. I could fetch Fail to Find just to clear those lands from the top of my deck, but I don't think that's necessary. They have Leyline Binding in their hand. They're probably going to clear Jace with that. And then second Jace plus Teferi can take this game over. I hope. Could just die to burn. We're in Tribal Flames plus Lightning Bolt range. They don't even need double flames right now. But what spell would be in their hand that they're not casting? Just more Leyline Bindings or fetch lands that don't have targets, I guess, are the things that they could be getting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Big Teferi. Big Teferi draws a card. This gets me through the brainstorm. And then Jace. And plus Teferi. I could plus on my opponent, but I think I'd rather just have more cards. Like, plussing gets Jace out of bolt range. And I am going to entertain the possibility of fetching Failing to Find just to clear the top of my deck this turn. I didn't want to mess around with my life total last turn. Got a lot more on the line now. I'm far enough ahead where that sounds good to me. Oh no, what is this? They're having a lot of mana. Solitude, just raw dog in a Solitude. No targets, no problems, just vibes. Okay, I like that. I can Prismatic Ending that. It only costs 5, a paltry 5, unlike Leyline Binding, which is unendable. And I am going to take the shuffle. Look at this deck, mono spells. Let's go. Rest down, pretty good. Plus big Teferi first. My own Solitude. I'm going to brainstorm with Jace. I would like to find a counter spell and just really lock this thing up. None of those are counter spells, but Scalding Tarn can go, and WRENN in 6. All my Triomes are in play, plus small Teferi here. And I guess I might as well cast a spell because I get my mana back for free. I can 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's fun. Prismatic Ending the Solitude. I'll zap you out of here. Then in the end step, untap, Breeding Pool, and Zagoth Triumph. Okay. I feel like a corner's being turned here. Like there was a turn of unstable stability, then a turn of kind of stable stability, and now like actual stability is how I'm feeling right now. I'd feel better with a counterspell because the burn half of the deck still live. But if they're just dropping another Solitude here, then I get to play mine in the end step and start actually gaining life, getting out of burn range. Yeah, just another down and dirty Solitude. Cracking a fetch. We're about to learn if there is a fetchable left in the deck. There is. There's a basic forest as well. All right, there. Making a play here. Could be Prismatic Ending on my Jace. That would be kind of a bummer, but I can binding there, binding. Tribal Flames my face. Don't like that. Okay, I'm at 2. Maybe like don't do more. Okay, so I have to dress down into a counterspell. Solitude can't exile itself. Exile up to one other target creature. Yep, okay. So I have to dress down into a counterspell here. Come on, counterspell. Oh wait, I know what's on top of my deck from Jace, don't I? This is not going to help me. Yes, all right. Yep. Yeah, just burned out. This is what I was worried about. That's why I was looking for counterspell last turn. I was feeling so good there. Supreme Verdict comes in. Aether Gust comes in. Dress Down comes in. Subtlety comes in. The Subtlety's in the maybe pile, but it seems like it's pretty good. Chalice of the Void. They're kind of a big mana nonsense deck as well. I could cut off their lightning bolts, but that doesn't seem like it's worth a slot. Jace was great. Teferi was great. Binding was great. Small Teferi is kind of medium. WRENN 6, pretty important. We did see Teferi out of their deck, which could make my counterspells risky, but I don't think that's a great argument for that. Like, do I think Aether Gust is better than some of these white removal spells? Because the white removal spells hit the creatures, but the Gust can buy me a turn against Tribal Flames. I think I'm going to split them. Down 1 ending, up 2 Gust. All right, let's try it. I am going to keep this hand. And I can just lead on Zagoth Triumph, save my fetch land. Like, I could just shock in Hallowed Fountain for a Leyline Binding, just spend 2 for it next turn. Just leaving Triumphs in my deck to give WRENN 6 real value seems like pretty important to this deck. Because it eventually runs out of stuff to do that's meaningful with WRENN 6. Like, there's a big gap between like hitting your land drops and paying out the emblem that WRENN is not hyper effective in. But if my opponent's just going to land go, I will use this time to assemble my red mana. But I'll do it off Steam Vents, not off WRENN Triumph. This spread of mana I'm assembling, though, does not cast Supreme Verdict. Okay, WRENN, I can answer next turn. I'm going to fetch Steam Vents right now. And if I had fetched the WRENN Triumph anyway, then I could have Prismatic Ending WRENN and held up another removal spell. But I'd rather save Binding for something bigger. Any land in my next 2 draw steps gets me to Teferi. I have a bunch of interaction in between here and there. Jace the Mind Sculptor, huh? I am tempted to slam this card into play. I could also put Kahira in my hand and hold up removal. I think I'm going to do the Kahira thing. Because if I miss my land drop, I can Jace, Brainstorm, and if I hit a land drop, then I can Binding something. And I probably have to plus Jace against the Lightning Bolt deck anyway. But then they still have Tribal Flames. Got some fetches, some action happening over there. The action is Omnath. This is turn 4. I want to untap with a protected Planeswalker, so I'm going to just bind this. And I know their deck has Teferi, which can remove Binding, which draws them another card. I'm just going to hope we are more stable than that at the time it comes. All right, well, Jace, let's go. I am going to brainstorm. I need lands. All right, I found many lands. I'm going to put back 2 of them and play Flooded Strand and pass. I don't expect to have Jace when I untap next turn. Their deck has so much burn in it, it would be crazy. Just any Lightning Bolt or Tribal Flames clears it. But then we're jamming Teferi with Counterspell backup. Leyline Binding, taking my Leyline Binding, going for Omnath over Jace. Yep, this makes a lot of sense. Guess now the question is, do I Solitude in response to a fetch land activation? I probably do. But they just didn't even do that. Okay. All right, I'm going to draw this land and then start making decisions. Teferi goes up to 5 right away. Tribal Flames is a sorcery. I'm going to fetch my plains and go for Teferi. Draw a card. Another counterspell. I like that. Fetching in the end step, which is cool because that's a fetch land I don't have to think about on their turn. What is this shit? I was just cycling a Triumph. That's great for me. I'm going to get my lands untapped here, and then I'm going to Solitude pitching Kahira. See you later, Kahira. Would have been nice to hardcast the Solitude and get out of burn range, but just protecting this Teferi is where I want to be right now. I fetch, so I don't know the top card of my deck anymore. Drawing Wild. Counter a Tribal Flames. Do you have another one? Okay. They don't have another Tribal Flames. Drawing a card with Teferi. No target. A land drop. And let's see where this goes. If I draw a card, that's it. I could also tuck their binding, get my binding back, clear your Teferi. I don't think I want to do that, though. Let's draw a card. All right, we're just hanging out here on Supreme Verdicts, hoping it beats this creature deck while I take up Teferi. Counterspell is Sleepy. WRENN in 6, disappointing, and they have Savai Triome to go off. Oh, they don't want a Teferi, they have another Flames. That's annoying. Okay. All right. I thought 6 was a good number, but it was not, and now we're behind. If I can answer WRENN, I'll feel okay here for a little while. All right. I guess I am binding the WRENN. Or is it Teferi? Oh god. I hate making decisions. I actually think I want to take the Teferi. WRENN is drawing 2 cards a turn, but having Counterspell available is a big part of what my deck does. And picked up Savai Triome. No surprise there. Territorial Kavu. I got answers on answers for that one. Dress down. Teferi. Something good. Ooh, my own WRENN in 6. Red, green. WRENN. Plus to pick up. It doesn't matter because I don't have any basics. I'm going to have to take 6. Or I can just Supreme Verdict and then fetch Shock if I need to counterspell something. It would cost me 6 life to cast Counterspell right now. That's brutal. Please don't cast anything I need to counter. Do we have a deal, opponent? And now we'll start to see if leaving all these Triomes in my deck can pay off. I have WRENN active. They have WRENN active. They have a Triumph. I don't. They're ahead in the WRENN war right now. Their deck also has ways to kill my WRENN. And I have the white cards. They have the red cards. So we're probably pretty close to equal on that front. Okay, if I get an end step here, I am getting Shock lands into play when they're pain-free. There's 2 left in the deck. Hallowed Fountain and Breeding Pool. I'm getting them both. Jace the Mind Sculptor. Okay. Plus, pick up my Flooded Strand. Jace the Mind Sculptor. I have Counterspell protection for this. Let's draw some cards. Hell yeah. Put back WRENN and the Besage is actually really good. I'm going to put back the Supreme Verdict. I can decide if I want that next turn. The Besage, their binding unlocks my binding. I can do something with that. I'm going to counter this Lightning Bolt. Veil of Summer. I hate my life. Okay. Well, that was a huge fucking blowout. That, if I had plussed my Jace, was avoidable. It's like I don't even play Legacy. What am I doing here? They have Omnath mana in the pool, and there is Omnath. I think this is a good time to Boseiju. Oh, this is... Oh, if they have a land, they get an Omnath trigger here. They still get the 2 triggers, I guess, but they don't get the 3. It might be out of lands. Yeah, they did not search. And I am going to fetch and shuffle away this Supreme Verdict. Is that even true? I don't think that's true. Now, Supreme Verdict answers half their deck, and Archmage Charm answers the other half. I'm cool chilling right here where we are. I'm going to pick up Boseiju with WRENN in 6. And if they just did not search, I think saving Boseiju for a Leyline Binding is more important than trying to cheese them on lands. Cycling Triome in the end step. Wish I could destroy my own Zagoth Triome and start renning, but R&D thought of that. Lion of Draco. This creature dies to Boseiju. Ending my WRENN. Is that what we're fighting over right now? If you emblem, I'm in trouble. No, I think this is fine. In the end step, I'm going to draw 2 cards. Or I'm going to fetch first, then draw 2 cards. There's still a card that I know about from Jace there. I'm going to draw 2. And I'm going to Boseiju your Scion. And I'm going to cycle Spar's Headquarters. And I'm going to play WRENN in 6. Oh, suddenly found a land. Didn't want it off Omnath, but do want it now. Curious. Teferi, okay. Another Teferi. Here's Teferi. And I'm going to target nothing and draw a card. And green, red. WRENN in 6. Get back Spar's Headquarters. And I believe this is all of the fetchables in the deck, so playing the Scalding Tarn doesn't do anything. I'll get a couple draw steps here before I have to kill their WRENN in 6. Both running out of time on our clocks. I am up a full minute though. Leyline Binding. It's probably WRENN because, or if you want your Omnath back, that might be more exciting. Yeah, you take your Omnath. That's actually cool for me because that gives me a target for Supreme Verdict and lets me WRENN back Boseiju and have another removal spell waiting. Yeah, that actually just answers the WRENN for me. The fact that they did that. Okay, plus Teferi, plus WRENN on Boseiju. Boseiju your Leyline Binding, which takes your WRENN. Unless you have your own Boseiju to stuff this, which you do not. Lucky. And then 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm just verdicting now before they make a land drop next turn. And okay. We are back to stable with multiple good answers in hand. They do have 8 cards in hand though. Oh my god. We might not be okay. It could die to a large combination of shit here. And especially if it's backed up by Teferi. Oh no. Yeah, we're probably dead. I take it all back. Tribal Flames, hell of a card. They bounce my Leyline Binding to get back their Teferi. And then they can bounce my other Leyline Binding to get back their WRENN. But then I have 2 Leyline Bindings in hand. But then they drew 2 cards also. And then WRENN can draw another card. They just start casting red spells here. I don't care about that one. Okay. So you're saying there's a chance. WRENN targeted Savai Triome. They almost forgot, but then remembered. Unlucky for me. Plus Teferi. I'm actually going to minus WRENN and kill their Teferi. I think that's more important. And I think I'm just going to pass with my 7 cards in hand here. Beginning of combat, let's Leyline Bind this creature. Okay, they're just F6ing now. And I'm just attacking. Get back Spar's Headquarters. I hope I'm far enough ahead that I can actually beat the clock here. This creature's fine, I can kill that. Alright, they are still at least playing the game a little bit, which I appreciate. Another Solitude. And I am playing the game weird now because I don't want a timeout. Alright, I think we're just in a weird like Moto crapshoot. F6 each other till someone dies situation. Yeah, we're just F6ing. It's a disaster. This isn't real Magic anymore. Yeah, they can't burn me out from 28. I'm just going to make sure I don't get clocked out. And the good news is we can see how we beat these dopey creature decks. We definitely have the grinding power that you'd want out of a blue-white control deck. My opponent is a big cornball. I don't normally complain about strange Magic Online motivated behavior, but I'm ahead on the clock far enough that this is going to matter. We're clearly both F6ing. Like, what do you think I'm going to do? You think I'm going to start casting spells? Why insult me like this? Why spend all this time insulting me? Acting like I don't play Magic Online for a living. Jesus. And I win the match with 7 seconds left. That was a great use of our last-minute opponent, who could have just hit the concede button. Okay, every minute used on the clock to beat that one, and what do we got? One more match? I've honestly lost count. This has been so crazy. Yep, one more to go, and we're playing for a... Oh, God. Oh, this counts as a win. Right. I was like, we're not 1-3, are we? No, we're 2-2, playing for the positive record. Let's go.
For the absolute best Magic the Gathering apparel on the market, check out the link in the video description to coalesceapparel.shop, and be sure to use the code BoshNRoll for 10% off when you check out.
On the play for the last round, I am going to keep my hand. It has the mana that does stuff. And I am going to lead on my WRENN Triome here. All right, looks like we got a little Izzet in the cannon. WRENN Triome, get in. And I can play Flooded Strand, which can counterspell if it has to, or just get the Zagoth Triome. Opponent consider at the end step, they like it. This deck can main deck Blood Moon, and it frequently does these days, which is something I want to consider, at least a little bit, and that can fetch Basic Island. And if I can find a route to Basic Plains, then I don't even care about Blood Moon, because Ending can answer it. I have a wall of counterspells up for the front half of Blood Moon. And by front half, I mean my opponent casting it, because that's how I say that apparently. I am not going to crack this fetch land. It's likely going to end up getting a basic anyway, and I'd like to leave my options open. Opponent's thinking really hard. Like, they have started to pass priority and then stopped and then like waffled in both their first and second main phase, and I feel like they have Blood Moon and they're like, should I jam? But they know better. They should not. Ooh, the homie. I'm going to play my Hallowed Fountain untapped and then WRENN 6. This plays around Spell Pierce. If they counter it, do I counter back? If I counter back and then they Blood Moon me, I am a donkey. But I think this card is worth fighting over. And I do have a basic. Please don't have the Spell Pierce. Consider in response. Okay. They are chasing their Blood Moon, which is going to be good if they have it. I'm going to grab this Flooded Strand while I can and just cross my fingers for one turn. Yeah, no Blood Moon. Okay, dope. Instant sorcery land. If they have Mishra's Bauble and Unholy Heat, they can clear the WRENN right now. But it's already drawn a card. They did find Mishra's Bauble, so if they have Unholy Heat, they can clear WRENN. But I dodged the Blood Moon, which was the important part of this interaction. All right, that's a 2-for-1 all day. I'll take it. I'm just going to land go here. We're at the part of the game that favors me if I don't mess up. If they just get a Murktide Regent into play somehow, then I'm in trouble. And it would be entirely my fault if that happens with 2 counterspells and a Subtlety in my hand. If they have their 5th land drop that either is or can access Basic Island and then Blood Moon, and they can protect Blood Moon with Counterspell, that would be... I guess I would Counterspell it on the way down, flush out the Counterspell, and then just Prismatic Ending it on my turn. Okay, that's actually fine. Ledger Shredder. I have Prismatic Ending that can tangle with that. Dragon's Rage Channeler. I think I'd like to Subtlety this card, but I'm going to let them connive first. I just want to find... I want to get some pressure into play, and getting a 3/3 that answers this card, and they bottomed it, so it's just gone. Just straight up Mystic Snaked them. Ooh, drew my basic planes. Easy money. Prismatic Ending, the Shredder. And then I will begin my attacking against this Lightning Bolt deck with my 3/3. You got to start somewhere, though. In we go. And there's Unholy Heat that I am not going to fight over. It's my job to just run them out of cards. That's the whole thing I'm doing. Ragavan represents more cards in a way that I don't really enjoy. I am behind on cards, though. Opponent counterspelled my counterspell. I guess it's time to really dig it on this Ragavan. And hope they don't have Spell Pierce. They didn't have it before. Please don't have it now. Very cool. But we are at that phase of the game where things can go poorly for me. I'm going to put Kahira in hand, but not cast it. The ability to dress down a Murktide Regent and just take 5 power off the board, I think is worth taking a turn off here. Or knocking the dash off a Ragavan. Well, they've used 2 counter spells, and they have not indicated Spell Pierce. Dress down's in. This Ragavan's chilling. And Ragavan's gone. It did unfortunately draw a land here. Come on, spells, like a Solitude or something. Oh, I'll take that. Yeah. Yes, please. Very happy with that one. Firing off some lightning bolts. Glad I didn't drop Kahira last turn. And I'm just going to be honest here, make my land drop. I have enough card draw in my deck that having that in play feels good. Murktide Regent is the card I need to worry about right now. And there it is immediately. Either well played or well drawn. I'm going to take 8 here and then get one more draw step, and I can draw one of my many planeswalkers or removal spells, or I can die. Okay, one of my many white cards, please. Yeah, okay. That'll do. I hope. I'll attack for my 3, and I'm going to bind in the upkeep. There's 1 mystery card in hand. The other is Ragavan that's locked under the Chalice. And they didn't have Counterspell 2 turns ago, so here we go. Moment of truth. Okay, we're in there. Lightning bolts are off, Ragavans are off. Time to stabilize. Let's ride. Yeah. Okay. Brazen Borrower is the type of card I was worried about, and now I'm less worried about it. I'm just going to draw a card right away. Good card. All right, now let's just cascade some advantage out of here. I'd be really worried if I didn't have Chalice in play, but luckily I do. I guess Brazen Borrower is still a problem if they can bounce Chalice and then immediately bolt me. Fiery Islet, put in exile. Immediately drew a card. They're digging. Love to find a counterspell. Plus this to Fairy. Then play a new one. Ooh, Otawara bouncing my Leyline doesn't actually do anything because they just replay the Leyline. Just trying to think of cards that are in their deck. Okay. They've had enough. Oh my god. All right. Tight games, tight games. Murktide. Supreme Verdict is, of course, for this matchup. Dress Down isn't actually that good. Like, making Murktide a 3/3 instead of an 8/8 as it arrives is cool. Knocking haste off a Ragavan, kind of cool, but I'd rather interact in ways that actually remove the permanent rather than just make it small. Aether Gust hits. We're mostly pre-boarded for this matchup. It's just like, do I want to shove through my spells with Veil of Summer? Do I want Boseiju as an extra answer to Blood Moon? Do I want the Gusts, which can take the pressure off with Ragavan, EI, and Dragon's Rage Channeler, while also protecting me from Blood Moon? And what comes out here? I mean, Jace seems sketch as hell against the Unholy Heat Lightning Bolt deck. I've been cutting Jace a lot, which makes me wonder if it is the best card we could be playing. And the deck needs engines. Like, a lot of the time we're just one good draw step away from stabilization, and Jace providing 3 extra draws in a turn is obviously insane there. Subtlety is a powerful card as well. I think it's worse than all the the white cards I'm already playing. I could cut Gust for a subtlety, just have one Gust in the deck. And that gives me basic lands, counter spells. Yeah, I actually have a lot of answers to Blood Moon, to the point where I don't feel like I need Aether Gust on top of it. Yeah, that's a pretty light board plan, but like I said, we're basically already built for this. I have a turn 2 WRENN in 6 and a Supreme Verdict someday. I'm going to keep my hand. Okay. I did not want to get Ragavand here, but Channeler's mostly fine. Ooh, I was going to just play Zagoth Triumph, then fetch Steam Vents, but I could fetch WRENN and get moving in the direction of Supreme Verdict, because my fetch lands as they're currently laid out don't get me Supreme Verdict in any sort of reasonable time frame. And playing Zagoth, leaving WRENN in the deck versus fetching WRENN, leaving Zagoth in my hand is like having the cycler in your hand for actual value versus in the deck for potential future value. Pretty easy. Okay, they milled a land off Consider, or milled 2 lands off the Surveil and the Consider, bricked on Delirium. Alright, let's see if you have Spell Pierce this time. Please don't. WRENN Triumph enters the battlefield tapped. And I can fetch Shock for Breeding Pool, or just play Boseiju, and with Archmage Charm in my hand, I want the Breeding Pool. Alright, Moment of Truth. No Spell Pierce. Get this out of here. I probably lose WRENN to a Lightning Bolt on this line, but at least the board is clear. And if they do just slam Blood Moon, I get a turn of basic island, cycle Zagoth Triumph, pick up Zagoth Triumph. And if they kill WRENN, then I don't get Blood Mooned. Win and win. Cool. Alright, that went pretty well. Do I want to shove Teferi into Counterspell? Or do I want to leave up Counterspell against this deck? I'm going to shove Teferi. These counterspells will be good eventually, and I have 2 Teferis here. Like, if they counter this one and then untap Jam Murktide, like, haha, then I have another one. Yeah, I'm just trying to run them out of cards here. That line does expose me to Blood Moon, where I could have just floated green and Besaged it. Alright, it exposes me to that too, I guess. Ragavan's gonna connect. It took a WRENN in 6. Jesus fucking butts. Alright, yeah, just took the best card possible in my entire deck. Okay, hard mode activated. And I can't even really play Teferi because WRENN can just pick it off. This is bullshit. I'm over it. I think I need to get my Triumph into play and start developing actual mana sources. Though, I could just play Teferi and plus. Yeah, them taking my WRENN there is just so devastating. I'm willing to start getting a little reckless, hope and pray that things work. And I am going to play my Triumph. Like, I'm trying to set up a world where I can interact meaningfully with this Ragavan. WRENN picked up a Delta. Ledger Shredder. Okay. And then you can dash Ragavan, or you can cast Blood Moon. That's... Oh, I can just bounce that. I don't care. Yeah, whatever. Good plus on Teferi. Alright, and I get my own WRENN now. Bounce the Blood Moon. Come on, basic planes. Red, green. Gets me WRENN in 6. WRENN in 6 gets me a land, which is not basic planes, but can Supreme Verdict next turn, and I can Boseiju in between. Am I going to answer their WRENN as well? Just huge beating there. Is this what I've been doing the whole league? My opponent is playing like a normal established deck, but just, by the way, also WRENN in 6. Because if that's what I've been doing to people, I'm feeling a little bad about it. But not really. Yeah, I'm just going to float green and let this resolve. And here is Ragavan, which I can unfortunately not interact with anyway. Boseiju the Blood Moon. And they get another land here. Chose it tapped. I expect they'll clear Teferi. That card is. But if they clear Teferi, then they don't get a rag trigger. Yeah, still worth doing. I agree with that assessment. And bobbling me. I'm about to fetch for a white source. This Ragavan just dashing is so shitty for me. Grab another Boseiju. Yeah, I think emergency Boseiju makes sense here. And I can put Kahira in my hand or Archmage's Charm. Yeah, I think I'm just going to pass. Not putting Kahira in my hand plays around Mystical Dispute and Spell Pierce. WRENN picked up Basic Island. I'm going to have to put a damage on WRENN next turn so it doesn't emblem, because that's actually just unbeatable. And between the WRENN in play and the WRENN in my hand, I'm hoping I can put one damage somewhere. Unholy Heat entered the exiled card zone. Okay. So I'm going to need my backup WRENN here to do the damage. I'm currently wondering if they have any more lands in the deck. Like in my end step, if I Boseiju your Steam Vents, what happens? Or I can draw 2 cards first. See if they want to interact with this at all. If they interact with this, then the WRENN is better off. Okay, that's cool. And now let's see this Steam Vents theory. They've certainly hit a lot of land drops. I've seen 3 basics among what they have, and they are out of lands. And I'm just going to get my island. I'll leave Sparet's headquarters in the deck. Ooh, okay. If I WRENN in 6 and they counter it. Okay. Green, red. I'm kind of, this is like just all bait. Yeah, so then Prismatic Ending, the WRENN in 6, and then play Chalice on 1. Yeah, I led on the worst card that also takes them off of their emblem. And this Chalice answers the Ragavan that's been pestering me. And then I can Supreme Verdict to clean up whatever's left. I kind of hope they just jam like 2 Murktide Regents and pass the turn here. There's one. Oh, cruel fate. That's so much power and toughness on the board. Whatever will I do? This is insane. I thought I was stable, but no. There goes the Ragavan. There's a fetch land that doesn't have any targets. We just established that with Boseiju last turn. Okie dokie, artichokes. This is where we turn it around. 1, 2, 3, 4. Put all of those cards in the graveyard, please. Every single one. Just, they go over here now. Over here, next to your deck and life points. Cool. And then I'm going to play Steam Vents tapped because they can't Spell Pierce me under Chalice, and I can counter the next thing that matters. And I will, in fact, counter this thing. It's not a sexy thing, but it's a thing, and I'm at 7. Rest of iteration, okay. There are no, or there's a Fiery Islet in their deck that could still enter the battlefield untap this turn. Mishra's Bauble, okay. And these decks, to make room for the Blood Moons, cut Murktide Regents. That might be all of their Murktide Regents in the graveyard right now. Come on, Planeswalker. Not a Planeswalker. I guess who's here? It's Kahira. Another Blood Moon, okay. Annoying. But I do have blue. And I have an attacker. And they can't cast 1-drops. My basic planes is in the deck somewhere. The mana that I do have can cast Aether Gust. I believe there's 1 in my deck. Yeah, I brought in 1 Gust. The Jaces are out, unfortunately. Maybe I need to think about Jace as a comprehensive package with Chalice of the Void. Like, if I can have Chalice and then stick Jace, the card is bonkers. You're a Windswept Heath, not helpful. Back with Kahira. And I am going to play the Heath because if I draw Aether Gust or something that creates a brief window of opportunity, I want my white fetch land available. We're suddenly at the same life total. That's almost a helpful card. My basic planes turns on everything at this point. I can cast Subtlety with the mana that I have too. That's a good blue spell. They would need to come up with a red spell that gets around Chalice. Because if they tap any blue mana, I can counterspell and they can't counterspell back. And their other basic island is in exile. This game, by the way, brought to you entirely by my opponent stealing my WRENN in 6. We could have been in this position 11 turns ago. but they hit every land drop in their deck, and then I had to answer WRENN before it emblemed. I don't think I want to fight over this. Like, I have to be really judicial with where I point my counter spells, because this card, this is the second spell for the turn. If I attack, I am going to fight over this. I just need to keep the board clear. They get this bauble out of exile, and then I'm trying to draw Aether Gust, Subtlety, or I guess Solitude isn't bad. Basic Plains is good. Supreme Verdict, not so helpful. All right, Moment of Truth. Opponent's at 1. And they put something in front of Kahira or not. They're tapping mana. They untap their mana. Oof, there was another Murktide Regent in the deck. It's only 5/5 though. It can't attack or they lose. And if I draw my Basic Plains or my Aether Gust, I'm in the clear. Yeah, now we're in this weird holding pattern where whoever can figure this out first is going to win. Another binding. Okay. We're chilling here. They just need to resolve a blocker. If they do have a 4th Murktide Regent, that would get me. There's another source of white mana that is not actually that. Uh-oh. I hope this does not bring any good cards. Firebluff Canal comes into play. Right. Let's go to another Dragon's Rage Channeler. Drawing another land. Probably some point where holding these back doesn't do anything anymore, and I should put it into play. My opponent has 13 cards left in their deck. They find, like, if they have like one Brazen Borrower, that will be enough to get through me here, or just one out to Chalice, like one a Braid, or one Shattering Spree, which they miserably seem to know how to cast correctly. Yeah, that just unlocks all their lightning bolts, and now I'm super freaking dead. All right. Yeah, all right. One cheesy Blood Moon boy dominated that game. Well, Ragavan taking WRENN in 6, just randomly 3 out of the 45 cards in my deck or whatever at the time, and then Blood Moon. I could have been harder on Blood Moon answers. I could just play another Aether Gust and just not put myself in that situation. Is Teferi Hero of Dominaria defensible? Like, I gotta win the game somehow, but also, like, cost 5 against a deck that contains Unholy Heat. Do I max out on Subtlety? But at this point, I'm cutting Teferi to do that. I guess these are both things that die to Unholy Heat, but one of them costs 4 and interacts meaningfully, and the other... So that's the best thing you can jam. Like, I'm just shaving on things that are great to jam. And jamming is where this deck is always headed. Right, I'm leaving my Teferis in. So under Blood Moon, Subtlety is better than Teferi. Though they are also... Subtlety is better than Solitude under Blood Moon. But Solitude's probably better than Teferi. Oh, but I can't cast Solitude at all. I can fetch a basic. Finding Solitude versus this deck seems completely insane. I'm going to cut an Archmage Charm. This is where I'm landing on this. Don't talk me out of it. I don't think I can keep a hand that's just Leyline Binding. I'm going to mulligan this. There we go. This hand is Leyline Binding and more cards. I'm going to keep but Zagoth Triome. Or if I'm going to fetch for Zagoth Triome anyway, I could just leave that in my hand. Fetch for Rockren Triome. And then, yeah, that gives me Prismatic Ending on turn 1 if I want it, and Binding after that. Bauble, targeting yourself. Fiery Islet, must have liked the card. Rockren Triome, let's go. Alright, a second Binding, and the gang is all here. The full domain. Considering my instep. They liked the card. Ledger Shredderino. I think I'm just going to bind this in the end step. Try to play on curve here. My deck. I'm not sure if that's what I wanted. I could just put Kahira in my hand right now. That taps me out. And if they jam Blood Moon, I'm not in a great position to answer it, but I can't answer it if I don't tap out either. So, Kahira's in my hand. Just being very honest about what I'm capable of right now. Nice. All right. They are missing land drops over there, but they're keeping all the cards they've considered. So maybe they're not missing land drops. Maybe they're... Wait, what just happened? I don't really understand what I just witnessed, but okay. I found basic island though. We're set up. Yeah, so they kept a card with consider, or they must have kept the second consider, or they're just on like the 4 consider Mishra's Bauble, no action setup. Cast Ragavan. Yeah. I get a big subtlety here. And we'll see if they have to bottom this Ragavan, just the full Mystic Snake again. Yep, bottomed it. They are missing land drops, and I just put a 3/3 in front of their 2/1. I probably should have Kahira'd here. I was thinking about holding up Counterspell, but if I Kahira, I get to attack for 4 and then double my clock when they're sputtering. Kind of like Counterspell here. Mystical Dispute, tilt. Alright, I can't pay for that one. Got me good. I thought I was safe from Spell Pierce. Oh. Red, green. Just a little red and 6. Get Misty Rainforest and Lake Kahira. And I do that off of Hallowed Fountain, I think. Hallowed Fountain's cool. Breeding Pool. Does Breeding Pool matter? Matters for Beseju, and that's it. Everything else is white. I'm going to get Hallowed Fountain. In their hand's probably full of 1 mana interaction, but if I can overload it like this, I'm pretty happy with that game plan. Blood Moon doesn't even matter here. Yeah, irrelevant. Red and 6, return Flooded Strand to my hand. Play Flooded Strand, attack with Kahira. And Prismatic Ending. Knock that thing out. And all of my removal is back on. I'm not going to fight over that. They're at 6, and they're starving on mana. Spire Buff Canal enters tapped. 1 island doesn't really interact with what I'm doing. I'm going to get Breeding Pool in the end step here. Just getting the shock lands that are less important out of the way. Black Flooded Strand. Maybe WRENN was supposed to ping my opponent here, but I think just having more mana and locking things up makes sense. Big T. I think I just want a plus to Fairy. That way anything they put in front of me next turn is just already answered. Unholy Heat. Is this worth a counterspell? No, because they're still dying to Kahira. Just going to use all my energy to push Kahira through one more time. I got a removal spell and a counterspell against their 3 mana. And if they tap their land, they go to 2. We found another land. Almost all of it's blue, though. I have this under control in a variety of ways. 2 of them, however. I'm going to counter target spell. And I'm going to leyline bind the original. Can we go home now, please? We did it. That was a long league. Went to under 5 minutes on the clock in, I think, 3 or 4 of the 5 matches. My God. Okay, lost to a different weird WRENN pile in round 1, where we timed out, but I feel like I was ahead. And we got smeared by burn, and then we had a lot of really intense back and forth games against everyone else. I don't know if 5 games or 5 matches is enough to really dial it in, but I was flooded a lot. I think that the fetch land fetchable ratio is off. Like, it's really important to have fetch lands in your opening hand, but then they become truly heinous later on. And Jace is the only thing you have that can turn them into real cards. There's no like Fable of the Mirror Breaker in this deck to cash them out, or even Prismari Command, anything like that, until you get up to WRENN Emblem. But there's like 3 to 5 turns in between where you're not doing anything with your lands and you don't have an emblem yet. And that's a tough squeeze. I love the resilience to Blood Moon, and it did get me once or twice where I just wasn't set up for it. You are still a 4-color deck, but being able to just cast Prismatic Ending naturally, a card that's in your deck with the lands that are in your deck, and you don't need to like hold up Boseiju, or you don't need sideboard cards just hanging out there, or the play pattern is just Teferi plus on the play, and then if they spend turn 3 making Blood Moon, you just bounce it and keep playing with a Planeswalker in play and all your mana available. I don't know exactly what the answer is, but I will be looking at this mana base a little more and redistributing the fetch. It seems crazy to want a 4th Triome, but a lot of the games I just wanted to fetch Triome early and then also have a Triome in my hand for WRENN and 6. And 3 was not quite enough to do all that. Maybe Boseiju doesn't need to be in the main deck, and that can be another fetchable. Whether a Triome or a Shock, or even another basic to be determined. Because with basic planes, basic island, Prismatic Ending, you don't need Boseiju main to deal with Blood Moon. You still want it against like Hammer and decks like that. It's still a great tool to have, but look at all the removal in this deck. Do we even need that? Is that just pushing too far into the greed zone? I think that might be where a piece of the puzzle lies, just this Boseiju. With the 2 Boseijus in the sideboard, do you need 3 across the 75? Can this one just be like Ketria Triome or something? Or a second Rockruin Triome? I don't know. I'm not going to figure this out live on camera. This is going to be like a sit down with a spreadsheet kind of solution, advanced math problem, figuring out how to make the math work in this deck. Hit your land drops, hit just enough land drops, but not too many, and really lean into WRENN and 6 on the mana base. I'm also going to be looking at Jace. I wonder if that could be better as like Narset, or just more subtleties or something else, because this 4 mana spell in a format dominated by Unholy Heat is tough, and Teferi is an even bigger sell on that. But Teferi can at least untap 2 lands and protect himself. Or maybe I just need to be thinking about it whole cloth with Chalice of the Void as part of the equation of like, if I stick a Chalice and then stick a Jace, it becomes really hard to answer. All right, I'm going to sign off. I enjoyed this deck a lot. It needs a little bit of work, but there's something very cool here that I'm going to look into. I'm not sure if I'm going to lock this in for Vegas yet, but I like everything that's going on here. Zach, thank you for sharing this masterpiece with the world. Heinz, thank you for giving me the opportunity to test for my tournament while also making content. Appreciate that. Everybody else, thanks for watching. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, check out the Patreon and all the stuff that supports the channel, and I'll see you for the next one.